Hey, here in front of the Warren rally, about an hour till we start. We're here with Bobbie from Brooklyn. You got the Brooklyn for Warren. Tell me, I mean, obviously we're less than 30 days from Iowa. What makes you most passionate about Senator Warren?
Every time I hear her talk, she just did a whole series on late night TV and other shows. I just get more excited. Elizabeth Warren is very articulate, she's very smart, and what her plans tell me is that she knows how she's going to govern. She's not just slogans. And I want to know somebody who actually has gotten things done. She got things done. We know the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. Her first year as a senator, she got 30,000 students. She got their student debt forgiven. She went directly to Obama because she figured out a way to do it. She just got a bill passed where we're going to get hearing aids over the counter. This is very important. I know it sounds like small stuff, but it affects millions of people. So I like Warren because she's articulate and passionate. She's also funny, which I appreciate, actually. And I really think she just has her eyes, she's very razor focused on what she wants to accomplish.
You mentioned slogans. Which candidates do you think are kind of giving empty rhetoric rather than more of a specific plan?
I think...
Don't be shy.
I don't know if I want to talk against the other Democrats. That's part of the problem.
Okay.
But she's not going to walk around and just say, I'm for Medicare for all. I'm for, anti-corruption. I'm for the Green Deal. She's got a blue deal, which is the oceans, and a green deal. So she has all of these plans. Now, I haven't read every single detail. I've read the ones I'm more interested in. And what Warren does is she goes to outside experts and advocates. She just did the first ever town hall through Twitter with the disability community. She did that, I think, today. And so she goes to outside advocates and she says, okay, what do we need to do? So she doesn't assume that she knows everything.
Well, I would kindly push back on the healthcare one because she had a plan for everything, but healthcare was a big mess. First she said, I'm with Bernie, when in the past she kind of flip-flopped on healthcare.
Okay.
And then her healthcare plan isn't, they say Bernie's pie in the sky, but she's gotten a pass. Basically, her healthcare plan, how she says she's going to pay for it, has two giant assumptions. She's going to pass comprehensive immigration reform, and she's going to get a massive cut in the military. That's number one. And number two, because I've read it a few times, number two, she's talking about, first I'm going to get a public option through, which is not easy on its own.
Quite what she said.
No, that's her plan. First 100 days, I'm going to get public option through Congress, which is very difficult to even do that. And then in year 3, we'll go for full Medicare.
So here's what I like about Warren. Warren has a plan. They're the steps that she put in the plan for Medicare for all. On her first day, she can lower drug prices on insulin, EpiPen, and other things. She's going to introduce a bill. I don't know if it'll be the same bill that's there now, but she's going to introduce a bill to lower Medicare age to 50. I'm 71, just had a birthday. I'm 71. I know what it means. Some people are crawling their way to Medicare. They don't have money for health care.
What about everyone under 50?
Wait, it would eventually go down. But it also includes, good question, it also includes minors under 18, families under $50,000 a year. It's 135 million people. Will it get through Congress? That's the hard take for anybody. We obviously have a split Congress now, so nobody can be held responsible of how the Senate, frankly, is going to act. What I like about Warren, she was asked the question, if a more modest bill came to your desk on health care than what you wanted, would you sign it? She said, if it helps people, absolutely, and then I'll keep fighting. People need help now. So while she has these plans, she will fight really hard, and I believe her because of her record, to get as much as she can and keep going. It's really nice to have a bill. I support Medicare for all, and both houses. I'm working on the New York state level. There's a New York Health Act, single payer. It's a big issue for me, especially around long-term care. So I support all of that. But I also know how government works and how politics works. And I think her supporters know that. And certainly she does, Warren. So she will push and get through each step. But if you don't have a plan, you don't have a vision, you don't have a goal. It's nice to have a bill, but if you don't know what your 4-year transition plan is that's in that bill, then what are you doing?
Couldn't the opposite be said? I hear what you're saying, but what is a plan worth if you don't have an actual movement to get it done?
But you'll have pieces. All right, she'll have...
Because Obama had a plan, but Obama, one of his the biggest critiques of progressives was he had this huge volunteer army and he left them at the altar. When he got elected, he didn't use them. And then he originally said we're going to do a public option, but Obamacare was it was actually a Republican plan originally. So I think with Warren, she's got great plans, although Medicare for All, I would argue trying to change the healthcare system twice in 3 years is not realistic. You have a midterm election between those 3 years. She might lose Congress. Most presidents do.
So Warren's big underlying platform, sort of where she comes from, as you know, is her anti-corruption. It is, how do we fight the lobbyists? How do we fight, I sound like I'm Elizabeth Warren, right? How do we make government stop working for the 1% and not the rest of us? How do we get a wealth tax through? How do we do all of this? And part of the core of all that is also how we eventually get health care. So I'm a realist. I know we're not going to get it every day, but somebody who's willing to put down in writing what her plans are, that, again, as I said, tells me how she's willing to govern, how she's willing to push. She's also somebody who understands that the lever of power is often in regulation and laws, sort of all that hidden stuff the average person never thinks about. And that's how she got those 30,000 students to get their loan forgiven, because she found a regulation, and she worked with some advocates, and they got it through. So there's a lot of ways to mix this up. I don't think any one candidate, I actually think it's really unfair for anybody to hold any one candidate that they're going to solve the health care problem. She felt challenged, that she needed a plan. She stepped up to the plate. Go ask the other candidates. I don't see a plan in that level of detail from anybody. Medicare for all, if you want it, we don't have much choice in our Medicare.
Well, that's actually what Warren's plan is pretty much the same right now as Buttigieg's plan. Medicare for all want it. It's a public option, keeping private health insurance. Warren just has I'll fight for Medicare for all in year 3.
But she has it laid out on how she's going to do it. Mm-hmm. Pete.
So basically, you just trust her plan.
So a lot of this is trust and authenticity. Mm-hmm. I frankly don't have a reason to trust Pete.
Last question. So obviously she's been fighting this corruption thing. The media hasn't really pressed her on this. Pete mentioned it briefly, but she did all these massive fundraisers she's criticizing in her Senate reelection, and she just transferred $10 million of the money to her presidential. She also has kind of been hemming and hawing. Yeah, I will take their money during the general election, talking about wealthy donors. Then she said she wouldn't, but now she says she will for the DNC, which would come to her. What do you think about that? Because obviously, closest one is Bernie, who just raised $34 million from small dollars. Sounds like you think Bernie's too far-fetched, but Warren's not exactly, not taking money from the wealthy.
All right, a few ways I answer that. For me, the reason somebody does advocacy is you're trying to convince a politician, let's say an elected official, to change their mind. So she came in as an unknown in the Senate race and raised money the usual way. She turned around and said, I want to do it differently. You probably know her finance director quit at the start, and she was determined to do it this way. So as somebody who does advocacy, if finally my message is getting heard and somebody moves on and changes their way, I don't call that a flip-flop. I call that a mature form of leadership, and you can change your mind. Somehow we get into this thing where no one can ever change their mind.
Well, it's easy to change your mind if you start with $10 million that you just raised from big fundraisers, no?
Well, so she had that money to start with. Bernie had money because he's run before as well. And by the way, Bernie has Our Revolution, which is a 501c4, which means you can donate and you don't have to reveal the names of the people. I guess you have to reveal how much, but not who donated. It's not a PAC, but it's sort of similar, no? And I don't know how much money he's raised through that. Pete, as we know, stepped in doo-doo in a wine cave. So, you know, and I don't know what she's going to do as a general if she gets to that point. So I can't address that. But to me, she really made a determination that she was not going to accept money. She doesn't hold these fundraisers, you know that. So I think at best...
Now she doesn't, correct.
Right, well now she doesn't. But why is no one allowed to change their mind?
I'm a little more cynical than you. I think most politicians, if they change when they're running for office, generally speaking...
Fine. So she changed her mind because she's running for office, but she must have felt there was a reason she did it. So...
To match Bernie's progressive message, no?
Maybe. You know what? You'll have to ask Elizabeth Warren that. How could I answer?
I will.
How can I answer that question? But I feel that she's been very trustworthy, which is what I like about her. She's very authentic and very trustworthy. She's kept to that. She doesn't have a 501c4. She's kept to just the individual donations.
But Bernie, our revolution does not. It's not like a super PAC for Bernie. It's totally separate. They don't do commercials for Bernie.
No, but what are they doing with the money?
They advertise and help organize for local candidates. Bernie
Revolution?
Absolutely.
Candidates?
Yeah, no, they don't do any work for Bernie Sanders.
I hadn't read that.
Yeah, I cover this. I mean,
Okay.
they're not involved with Bernie's campaign. They were involved, let's say, with candidates like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, local candidates. Most of what they do is endorsements, helping campaigns, organize, those kinds of things.
California. So, all right, then fair enough. I hadn't read that. I had read that nobody quite knows what's going on with this money.
I
But
lied, one more. We got Trump launching a war with Iran, basically. What are your thoughts? Obviously, Warren's more known for domestic politics. What are your thoughts? Because, I mean, they made a big deal that she kind of changed her language a little bit. I don't think that's a big deal at all. But, yeah, I think that was stupid. But she doesn't have, I mean, she voted for Trump's budget 2 years ago. I don't know. I don't think maybe she's been on the Foreign Relations Committee. I'd have to check that. But what do you think about if she won, she could be entering possibly a situation where we have a war.
So my thought about that is right. Warren's expertise is not in foreign policy. Personnel is power. You bring the right people around you. Did Obama have foreign policy experience? So...
And he doubled down on Afghanistan.
Right. Well, we can get on and on about what he did right or what he did wrong. I certainly didn't agree with everything Obama did. But my point is, nobody's going to be an expert on everything. But if you're smart enough to bring in the right people around you, to give you the information you need, and have a dialogue about what actions to take, then that's trustworthy. Nobody is going to be an expert on everything. And, so I feel like we can't hold any one person to a standard of being expected to be an expert on everything. I do believe that Warren's personality of being, well, obviously brilliant, but also just very razor focused, tells me that on foreign policy, she will be razor focused and she will bring in, because her whole way of operating is to bring in the right people around her. She will bring in the right people. And for me, that's good enough. I can't expect somebody to be an expert on everything.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
How do I spell your name? B-O?
Well, it's Bobbie, Bobbie.
Great.
SACKMAN.
Great. Check us out on YouTube, Status Coup.
Oh, Status Coup.
We'll have this probably in the next day or two.
All right, what's your name?
Jordan.
Jordan, I didn't know, so sorry. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.